So what is your takeaway from Donald Trump's latest turnabout on smartphones, computers, and chips now exempt from his massive tariffs?
Well, clearly there's been an awful lot of discussion that's gone on in the Oval Office in regards to this latest move. I think for U.S. consumers who realize that China has essentially monopolized the market in the electronics field, I think have taken a sigh of relief for what transpired in just the past 48 hours.
Trump's 90-day suspension of U.S. tariffs on almost every country except China has raised a lot of hopes, Jim, especially in Europe, that perhaps negotiations will bear some fruit. But at the end of the day, has the damage already been done?
Well, certainly there's been some concern. There's been, in the United States, for example, there's even been layoffs because of concerns as to what things are going to look like in the next few months. But I think people have taken a sigh of relief that there's going to be this 90-day period, and countries have been lining up to the Oval Office to try to see how they can, in fact, put together some kind of an agreement that will allow for the tariffs to go away.
And can you technically reach a massive trade, a complicated trade agreement in less than 90 days? I mean, doesn't it usually take months or years?
Well, there's no question that 90 days is a real stretch as to how this can all be done. The notion that every country will have a separate agreement in which there won't be some kind of a template that can be used for those individual countries is, I think, wishful thinking. But the administration certainly is going to be working very hard to be able to see that we conclude individual agreements with different countries. There's no other choice.
Let me move on to China. The longer this standoff between the United States and China goes on for, is it going to be hard to find some kind of off-ramp here?
I don't think so. I think that the Chinese understand the seriousness with which all of this has come about. President Trump made this abundantly clear during the campaign, and he actually did it before the campaign, that the United States has got to do something in regards to China. In fact, the European Union would love to be able to see that there's some kind of an agreement that could be struck that would include the European Union with China. China has had a variety of just not tariffs against the United States or the European Union, but also a number of non-tariff barriers and dealing with currency. And so there have been some concerns for a long time, and now it's really come to a head, and we'll see what happens in the coming days.
Do you see a scenario where the U.S. approach, or they call it a strategy, if you will, towards China would shift? Clearly, the current one the Trump administration is resorting to, it's not working out so well for them.
Absolutely, and you realize right now that the Chinese market is having a tough time. First of all, its real estate market has had a very, very difficult period. We've seen young workers that have not been able to get jobs. China is really experiencing a difficult period, and so the United States recognizes that and wants to be able to see if indeed some kind of an agreement cannot be worked out with China. China, of course, now has a 125% tariff against the United States. The United States has a 145% tariff against China. China's made clear that they're not going to continue to do a tit for tat with the United States, but it's clear China and the United States have got to come to grips with exactly what the future is going to hold. Again, the United States, despite all the advances that have been made by China, the United States continues to be the largest economy in the world, and China recognizes that.
And do tariffs, Jim, the way Donald Trump is doing them, do they actually fix the trade imbalances, especially when it comes to China and United States?
Well, I don't think that the United States wants to see these tariffs continue to be in place for a long period of time. It's really intended to be able to get people's attention, and China, certainly given the economy that it's facing, is going to have to recognize that something's got to be done, and they're ready to and certainly will be willing to be at the table to be able to discuss with the president and with the cabinet exactly what this bilateral trading relationship should be.
Yeah, all right, we'll leave it there. Jim Moore, thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.